Welcome, everyone, to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and returning once again, revisiting even, is my good friend, Hammy. Welcome back, Hammy.
Thanks, MC. Hi, everyone.
And today, we are planning on revisiting Reylo again. At part 2, even. It's going to become an anthology, potentially. A journey.
By the time we're done with both Rey and Kylo's lives and our lives, it will be a well-documented anthology.
Periodically returning to talk about Reylo seems like a good idea, I think. And it has been like a hot minute.
Yeah, our last episode was April 2022, so it has been more than a year and a half.
And there's a surprising amount of things that have happened in that period of time. I remember recording last time, I'm like, will there be enough to talk about Reylo? And we shocked ourselves with how much stuff has happened. So this is kind of like a state of the Reylo fandom a little bit, as well as a state of canonical Reylo.
Yes, we're going to be covering, this is the multiverse, and we will be covering all versions of Rey, whether that's AU Reylo or canon Reylo.
Yeah, I think that's important because there's been so much publishing news for our writer friends out there that have made it big in the New York Times bestseller list.
Yes, multiple Reylos.
It would be cool to actually have one of these episodes where we revisit everything, where we get to talk about like a movie or something like that based on this. Yeah.
It's funny you say that last time we were wondering if we had enough to talk about. And I think when we ended the call, that was 2.5 years after the rise of Skywalker. And now we're 4 years after the rise of Skywalker. And we're in the same boat where there's way more to talk about. I think at the time we had said, okay, let's look at this 5 years after Tross, and we're 4 years, and we're like, okay, we gotta cover all this stuff.
There's too much, and we had talked about maybe doing it before, like in the summer, because then it was like kind of just after a year with the writers and the actors strike. I didn't want to record and release anything, so we're back, and I just did this cool Willow episode on the anniversary of Willow, and I feel like getting myself back into the swing of things. I should talk about my second favorite thing in the universe right now, which is Reylo still.
Yes.
It sticks with you. It die hard.
It never leaves you, and every time you think you're out, it just pulls you back back in.
It just pulls you back in. Yeah.
And as you said, with Willow's anniversary, it is the 4-year anniversary for the Rise of Skywalker, so it's like we're celebrating that as well.
Celebrating, quote unquote. Okay.
Quote unquote.
So how are you doing, Hammy? Like as a Reylo in the wild, how are you feeling?
I think I'm doing okay. I think hopefully everyone else out there is doing good, personally and in your fandom lives. Hopefully everyone's doing okay. But no, I feel hopeful still. I'm excited to see what's going to happen, whether it's in the next year, 2 years, 3 years down the line. We have a lot to talk about with the future. Yeah. And as far as like the Rise of Skywalker itself, I think you and me both were not healed, but we had kind of made our
peace with it.
We have made our peace with the Rise of Skywalker. I've definitely maybe moved maybe one notch above peace where I know, imagine that. I'm maybe one notch above that because I don't think I would give up the good Reylo stuff that's in the Rise of Skywalker for whatever the alternative could have been. Cough, Duel of the Fates, cough. So the Force bond, Rey and Kylo's relationship. I don't think I would give any of that, the kiss, obviously. I don't think I would give any of that up. So I think maybe, I'm one notch above peace with the movie.
Yeah, it's interesting. Something that we'll talk about in a little bit, but I had a reason to rewatch the Rise of Skywalker this last year, and there is certainly a lot of interesting things that end up playing out in it, and I highly recommend something I'll recommend halfway through or in a little bit listening in if you haven't listened to that episode that I released. It actually has a full PowerPoint presentation attached to it, so highly recommend it. And we talk about the mythology of the sequel trilogy, which is really cool. So let's dig into that because we'll get to that thing I want to talk about more. Me, myself, I'm okay. I still see, nebulously out there on social media, Reylo love. James Hance has been posting nonstop Reylo or Ben related things.
Artwork, yeah, beautiful artwork
that he's working on. And
Mhm.
it's like every week he's breaking my heart again. Like like the one with where he drew Ben like covering his face sort of like
Yes.
Leia in The Last Jedi. I was like,
Mhm.
"You're mean. You mean man."
Yes, if you haven't looked at his beautiful artwork, you definitely should. Yeah, but like MC said, pretty much almost at like every couple days, every week, it feels like he's posting beautiful artwork of Rey and Kylo when they were younger, them together, them as
Yeah.
individuals. It just kind of keeps your Reylo fuel going, and that's besides
Yeah.
all of the other wonderful fan artists that are out in the community too.
It's still going strong. Like
Hmm.
it hasn't really diminished except for maybe a little bit of like the fact that Twitter is a hellscape
Yes.
and terrible. And so maybe some Raylos are finding other places to be and exist. But like, hey, Ferrari is coming out. Yeah, and so like there's new edits happening all the
Mhm.
time and new anti-conversations out of
Yes,
nowhere.
yes. Yeah, people
Eh,
who are against Reylo never
eh,
leave either,
I
apparently.
know
So then,
in the year 2023.
after everything we've been through since the Rise of Skywalker,
And
there are
it's
still people out there every day just working hard to go against Reylo.
and it just feels like Raylos have become so inured to antis that like literally they're like, "You're hilarious."
Yeah, before I think because we cared about Star Wars, people always often say like, "Oh, you guys only care about Ben Solo or whatever it is," but we all genuinely do care about fandom and Star Wars in general and the character, all of these characters in the sequel trilogy. So I think when we first were getting kind of attacked and harassed during the release of the sequel trilogy, I
Mhm.
think me included, took it very personally when people would say, "Oh, this is a toxic relationship," all the usual talking points that they kind of use for what is pretty much a vanilla enemies to lovers ship. I found it very hurtful too. But after everything that we've kind of gone through online, and maybe many of us in person, were kind of like, well, we don't have time for this? It's all just jokes and memes. There's more serious problems in the world than two characters that you want to ship. That's yeah.
I mean, yeah. And so like it, it just feels like there's nothing they can do to hurt us.
No,
Like
literally, there's
it's
there's
just,
nothing that can come
and
out
I
on Twitter that would bother the fandom, and that makes me feel good too because I think we do have a long road ahead of us. If the ideal situation is Ben Solo coming back, some kind of reunion with Rey, if that is like years out from us getting
Mhm.
that, it makes me feel good knowing that like the community that we built hasn't disappeared. What I've seen, and just because Twitter has, it seems like everyone's kind of like taken a break from Twitter. And
Mhm.
they just kind of come back, like you said, when they want to talk about and discuss things. So if a new piece of canon drops or a new interview or something drops, that's when you kind of see everyone flood back into this. And I think even last time when we had talked, everyone had kind of found new interests, whether that's K-pop, K-dramas, other
Yeah.
fandoms. Everyone had kind of found something else to look into after Star Wars maybe didn't go the way that they wanted it to. But we all find our way back to each other when there is something.
I feel like yeah, so during Willow, I did a where did Raylos come from and where did they go mind map. Did you see that?
Yes, yes, I did see
Yeah.
that.
And people were like, "This is weird." Like that they like I missed a few, right? Because, I'm not aware of everybody, but people were like, "I can literally find myself on this."
Mhm.
I just found it like an interesting exercise just to be like, where are the Raylos now? I'll repost it like when this episode comes out so people can see
Mhm.
it. But I find that interesting that like there's only a few paths of where people really went, and that in and of itself would be fascinating to study
Yes.
of this fandom itself because it hasn't gone. I think that's
Mhm.
really important. I have a chat group that's off Twitter that's on Discord of made up of Raylos, and we like talk about lives, but every time something comes up we're sharing it and talking about it just so
Yes.
people don't have to go back on Twitter. So it's not like the fandom has gone anywhere, it's just
No.
like incognito.
Yes. That's what I would no, it totally is. We're all just part of the world between worlds right now, and we just poke our heads out of the portals when
Like,
when
hey,
something comes up.
what's up?
No, and something else I will say, even when we last spoke, again, this was April 2022 when MC and I last covered revisiting Reylo. I think even since then, since the Rise of Skywalker, and since we last recorded, there has been an influx of new Reylos. I can just tell
Really?
from yes. I think there's been plenty of Reylos who came to the fandom after the Rise of Skywalker, and I think this time is almost I can see it as a blessing, kind of, where people are able to kind of digest all of the sequel trilogy as one thing,
Mhm.
and they kind of just accept it as it is. They're not coming in with the preconceived notions that maybe even we had after The Last Jedi or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and so they're able to just kind of accept the story as it is. I'm sure they have critiques, but I've seen a huge influx. Whether that's authors, there's authors I've never even heard of coming up, artists, and then just people, shit posting on Twitter.
Matrix Resurrection came out in December 2021, and it was the biggest sign for me that in the ether, there is an acceptance that story doesn't always end perfectly, and that you could potentially come back around and fix it.
Mhm.
And so, as as insane as it is, we have hope that for a continued story, a more satisfying ending, something that would repair the psychological, mythological elements that Reylos have a problem with the ending of the story where it currently is. And let's dig into all of the things that have happened since we last revisited Reylo.
All right,
All
let's do
right,
it.
where do we start?
So I thought we could maybe start with some news first. So I wanted to talk about Celebration in 2022 and 2023. Just really quick recap of
Mhm.
things that were covered in news, and then we'll go into the actual canon releases that happened after that. So last year, 2022, there was a Ray panel, which included Star Wars Explained and a couple of Reylos, including Arazu, Maggie. It was just a great panel. If you want to watch the panel on YouTube, it's Star Wars Explained, their YouTube channel, and it's the Ray panel. And it was just great to listen to some people we know talk about Ray a few years later, and kind of in a half official capacity at Star Wars Celebration.
Mhm.
And the reason I appreciated it, at least, is you never know who you're getting when who attends the panels, and they are exposed to the perspectives of how we view Rey, why she's important to us, not just because of Reylo, but as a character, why she meant so much to many of us, and why maybe changing her story in The Rise of Skywalker, changing her parentage, how all of that kind of impacted her fans, and some of her fans, I
Yeah,
should say. Mhm.
absolutely.
Okay,
And
so that was
then
yes, that was really
yeah.
quick for Celebration 2022. And then this year we had some huge news. MC, would you like to cover it since you were there in
Oh,
person?
sure. Yeah, no. And I didn't actually get into the Lucasfilm panel, which was like the main one where they announced this, but yeah, the big crazy news was of course the release of which is under like the New Jedi Order timeline piece, but it's been called the Rey movie
Yes.
colloquially. Of course it was announced that this would happen, and then Daisy Ridley, dressed in like the best red outfit, came out on stage, and everybody lost their friggin' minds.
Yes, Daisy did look amazing in red, and I watched it later on the live stream. It's still up on YouTube as
Mhm.
well on the official Star Wars channel if you did want to go see it. I'm sure everyone's seen it by now, but yes, I'm so glad that she was met with like so much positivity. Since if you're
Mhm.
chronically online, you kind of assume everyone hates the sequel trilogy, and so I was really happy that she got like so much applause and appreciation when she came out.
Yeah.
So the Ray movie is going to be directed by Charmin Obaid Chino. She is a Pakistani Canadian. She's mainly known for her documentary work. She's won two Oscars already for that. But in fandom wise, she's most well known for directing episodes of Miss Marvel.
They were great. They were
Yes.
great. And there's a lot of femme perspective in those episodes,
Mhm.
which is great. Yeah.
Yes, I think everyone was really pleased with the decision. Not only that Ray was coming back, but that she would finally have a female director at the helm
Mhm.
of her journey. So I can't wait to see what happens. Right now, the current rumor is that I guess it's a rumor. I guess is that production is supposed to start in April 2024, but obviously because of the writer's strike, I feel like it's going to be like I don't think it's going to start in the next 4 months. And
Daisy
it's
has
set
said
for
that she's read the script though.
Well, not that script. She's read a
Oh,
script. Yeah, so
she's
so
read the summary? She's read the
yes, she's read
Wikipedia article?
yes, I guess I think they must have had a meeting with her and told her where the story was going. That's usually
Mhm.
how it goes with these things. Our friends over at Collider got Daisy for an interview, and they found out that not only is she excited, she's heard the story, and then I think she read another script. It was kind of confusing. Her quote, I can read it. It says, "I'm waiting to read a script because obviously I don't have any other updates. It's not what I expected, but I'm very excited."
I don't know
So
what that means. I don't know
yeah,
how to react
it's
to the
pretty much like
exclamation.
like it could be it's a Rorschach test, Rorschach test for what you can interpret that.
I mean, if you go into that feeling like, "Oh, Daisy's always positive about everything," you're gonna see
Right.
that it's negative, and if you're like, "Well, that's positive," because you wanna be
Mhm.
positive, you'll see it as positive. So, literally, it's a nothing burger as
Yes,
far as information.
yeah. Well, to push my agenda, I will say, she had a very similar quote before the Rise of Skywalker released, and it was
Yeah.
that she didn't expect the Force Bond to come back. So to me, this sounds great. she,
You're
she's like, yeah, I was really surprised
you looked at
we
that
thought
Rorschach test and you said, "That's a butterfly."
yeah, that's a big ass butterfly. That's what I saw. Okay, yeah. So sometime next year it's supposed to start production, and then I believe it's a May 2026 release. Rumors also saying it could be December because
Right.
Disney tends to lock down December dates as well. It's being written by Damon Lindelof, who's or originally, sorry, excuse me. Originally, it was written by Damon Lindelof, but now it's by Stephen Knight from Peaky Blinders. And I'm not sure because I don't keep up with rumors as much, but the rumor of originally it being an older Ray, I don't know if that was Damon Lindelof. I'm not sure how, all
I
of
think
that.
I think that that's the rumor that it was originally gonna be Helen Mirren that they were
Mhm.
targeting, like, that age, like, it had
Yes,
been like
30 plus years, I
yeah,
guess.
like, she's an old ass woman now,
Mhm.
and then they were like, "Wait a second, we have Daisy Ridley, like, what are we doing?"
Maybe she listened to the fans. That's what they listened to the fans.
I mean, maybe, but my
But yes, so
my
all we know,
my faith is low.
right, of course. Hopefully, everyone heard my sarcasm when I said that.
Yeah.
But as with anything with Star Wars, everyone says they want them to listen to the fans, but it's only they want them to listen to my kind of fan, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Maybe they
so the
listen to all the dollars flying out the window.
yeah. Mhm.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but either way, excited that Daisy's coming back. And what little we do know from the plot that was announced at Celebration is that it's going to be set 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker. So that would make Rey 35.
Mhm.
And it will follow Rey as she works to rebuild the Jedi Order. I think people have been speculating, like, oh, does that mean she'll be the main character, or is she kind of
A
just mastering
mentor.
a mentor to
Mm.
other main characters? But it seems, I don't know, if it seems like they're going to have a lot of Rey is the focus. That would be my hunch.
Yeah, I don't know. Uh eh, I'm interested and I'm never not going to be like I always want to see Ray back. Like
Mhm.
even with or without Ben, like it could be, hey, it's the entire movie and we don't get Ben, and I will still be like, it's great to have Daisy back in that role. I still do have worries about what the messaging will be and what it
Yes.
means from a values perspective and like how I view sort of the meta message of Star Wars.
Mhm.
But that's my own anxieties and fears.
Oh, don't worry, MC. Your anxiety is fully shared with everyone. I think obviously that I think there's maybe a sector of people who just love Daisy, happy to see her back, and I'm included in that number as well. But then the other part of me, like you, is worried about, okay, well, if she's rebuilding the Jedi Order, do we know what that looks like? Does Lucasfilm know what that looks like?
Inside of me there are two wolves. And they're both managed by Dave Filoni right now.
Yeah, when we left the Rise of Skywalker, at least to me, it didn't feel like we knew what Rey was going to do next, and
Who
so
knows?
yeah, and so honestly, my thing is it's so soon. This feels
Mhm.
very quick turnaround. So to me, I feel like it's going to be very surface level. It's just going to be Rey, quote unquote, rebuilding her Jedi Order trying to come up with maybe deciding how kids would get to the planet. So like, things like that, like the very basics of building a school or an academy or whatever it is, but not necessarily about the Force and the principles. I'm sure there will be the Force, of course, but I can't see them making big statements about the Force. I would hope she's not kidnapping kids.
I wonder what the conflict is going to be.
Exactly.
Like if they're orphans already, I can kind of see getting behind that a little bit.
Yes, similar to Rey.
Yeah,
where
it's almost like an orphanage Force Academy, like maybe, right?
Yes, and that at least would provide some emotional heft to it. But then what about all the other Force kids?
What is the conflict though of that, right? So I don't know. I don't know. I still struggle like with what is the struggle, right? Because that helps define what we're supposed to be learning from the text.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm interested. I think about it every once in a while and break out into cold sweats or smile at the possibilities. I am of very many minds.
Really, and this is again a fully biased opinion about some of the TV shows that have been coming out. I really think this is going to be very surface level. I don't think it's going to be changing the canon of what the sequel trilogy means, what Rey, her future means. I think, I can't help but feel that way, that it's going to be very surface level. We'll just be revisiting her. It'll be very happy-go-lucky Jedi figuring out what she wants to do kind of thing. There has to be some kind of conflict, but maybe it is about the dark side within the kids that she's training or something like that. Yeah, I guess we'll see. It's fully speculation now.
If it's a story that is exciting, cool, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we had that cool announcement. That was like day 1, and day 2 was set to be our panel. So this is me, Rachel from Scavengers Horde, and Lori, who is a director, Reylo, from London, of course. And so we had this panel, and it was called Powerful Light, Powerful Dark.
It was amazing.
The mythology of the sequel trilogy, and it was all focused around the relationship of Rey and Kylo primarily, as well as like Rey herself as her journey, because many people had never actually explored the heroine's journey as something that was important, right? Or even thought about the sequel trilogy as saying something different than what, say, the original trilogy did or the prequels from a Joseph Campbellinian perspective. And so we introduced like the whole framework of why we think about it differently. And we kind of took people back to school a little bit. We were in the largest fan panel room, which was wild.
Yeah.
To say that we were given this panel at Star Wars Celebration. I think I know why it was accepted when we originally submitted it, because they knew about the Rey movie.
Yes. Yeah, amazing.
Right? And then had it set after, which was very smart. It was wild.
You would think they would let you know a little bit too.
No.
Of course not. Joking.
But we did have an opportunity at the end of that panel to actually talk about the Rey movie and get like kind of a panelistic sense of how we felt about it. And we all, I mean, it's what everybody's feeling. Like, we're happy she's back, but like also we don't know what it means. And of course we want to see Ben back because of what it mythologically means. And that's what we talked about in that. And so I highly recommend that episode. I'll link it in the liner notes if you want to check it out. It has cool PowerPoint presentation slides on YouTube, so you can get a sense for how we were talking about the sequels. A little bit of history on Joseph Campbell, Maureen Murdoch, how we like to think about things. Honestly, we knocked it out of the park, and it was a near full, large room, very, very full, and tons of Reylos in the audience, and also tons of people who were just interested in finding out what we had to say, and then were like shocked in some ways how interesting it was.
Yes, I should say, when you were saying you were kind of, a lot of people don't know about the heroine's journey, I think a lot of Reylos know about it, and we've kind of seen Rey's journey from that, the last 7 years, 7, 8, 9 years. But a lot of folks who were at Celebration, the reason MC's panel was, and Rachel and Lauren's panel was so important is because we're reaching people outside of our circle who are able to kind of look at the sequel trilogy in a new way. Like I think you had mentioned when we were off the call that there was someone dressed as Thrawn. People who, everyone kind of has their part of fandom that they love and enjoy. And so I think it was hopefully eye-opening to all of those folks to see the sequel trilogy discussed from a mythological perspective. I would also not only second that the panel's amazing and you should totally go listen to it, but if you're a newer Reylo listening to this, I would highly, highly recommend you
it's like a speed run
listen to the episode. Yes, it's a speed run of everything that Reylos have been talking about from the beginning with Rey and her journey. So yeah, definitely highly recommend. It actually
felt good to like make it official at Star Wars Celebration, at this Star Wars event, that like, yes, there are people that care about this stuff from this perspective. And also like I care about mythology and Star Wars so much, and it was a lot, and I loved it, and I feel very proud of Rachel and Lori for doing this. Rachel took The Rise of Skywalker as a movie to talk through the journey in that, and
she's amazing.
She did an amazing job. And again, Scavenger's Horde, if you're a newer Reylo and you've never heard of Scavenger's Horde, go back to their backlog. They're amazing.
Yes, all of their podcast episodes are truly insightful, and not just about Rey and Kylo, but they also cover a lot of other topics in Star Wars. And I think they're still putting out episodes, about Ahsoka and all of them.
Yeah. And Rachel's a good friend, and I'm very, very proud of what we produced. It was awesome. The other cool things about it was generally, although like Andor was really on people's minds because it was like the most recent release other than Bad Batch before Star Wars Celebration, Reylo was like there was tons of Reylos around. There was a woman dressed up in a huge, huge bridal gown with Rey hair covered in blue butterflies. And she hung out in the middle of the hallway between like the big, like sort of area, like atrium and like play. Like you had to go past her by Rey's speeder to get anywhere. And she hung out there for like 2 days and had pictures with nonstop Kylos. There were so many Rey and Kylos. And especially after the Rey movie was announced, there was nonstop Reys everywhere. It made me
amazing,
so happy. Like, like quite literally, I was on cloud 9. Like, I just
no, that makes me really happy because
I don't know, like, I just wish more Reylos could see it truthfully, like, and see we're not alone.
Pun intended from The Last Jedi. No, but I agree. I remember seeing that on Twitter, the cosplayer who was wearing the gown with the blue butterflies. And so I agree. I wish more Reylos could see it, and that's why I always retweet anything that was happening at Celebration, because and I think it's good for other people, like I said, who are not as engaged with the sequel trilogy, because I'm sure she was inundated with questions about, why the blue butterflies? And they're like, well, there's this obscure children's short on YouTube
like, do people understand the deep lore of Reylo?
And we're going to, don't worry guys, we're going to talk about that short, but explaining the butterflies, I'm sure that opened so many people to be like, oh, okay, well, let me go check out, I can't believe there was Ben Solo content that was released after The Rise of Skywalker. So.
There was actually a lot.
Yes.
Which is shocking.
And it's also nice, I think, and this happens with every era of Star Wars, when you, prequels, original trilogy, Legends, you always feel like you're the fan who's left out, right? It feels like everyone is getting catered to but you. And I think the sequel trilogy fans have felt that way since The Rise of Skywalker, that we haven't been getting any contact. We're inundated with TV shows from other eras, books from other eras, and not our babies. So I think it is nice to go to Celebration and see that much sequel trilogy cosplay and everything.
Exactly. And so you can go back to our episode when we talked about revisiting Reylo. If you're like, hey, what was the stuff that was there? Did you just want to give the highlights, cliff notes?
I was just going to list. Yes, I was just going to list really quickly. So this is all for any, and mainly this was for any new Reylos out there listening, or Reylo curious. So the first time that MC and I talked about revisiting Reylo, since The Rise of Skywalker, we have gotten a lot of content, and I'll just run through some things really quickly. So we had the Rise of Skywalker novelization by Ray Carson. There's a bunch of cute Reylo moments in that, and just Rey moments in general. There's a lot of really good quotes about the dyad, about the relationship. It to me, it really helped. I love seeing those quotes. When she, I think she talks about the bond, their dyad bond feeling like coming home for both of them on Exegol. There's just
Oh,
so many great
God.
phrases that, yeah. And if you are on the ebook version, it's the most highlighted stuff, of course, because Reylos are the ones highlighting it. So Kindle kind of shows you what the most
Yep.
highlighted things for a book are, and pretty much all of the Rise of Skywalker quotes, you'll find them easily because it's all the Reylos highlighting it. The next big thing that we got after The Rise of Skywalker was the Rise of Kylo Ren comics by Charles Soule, who MC has talked to before.
Yep.
So in that, the big thing that I wanted to talk about was there's a moment when it's, again, set before Ben's fall. It's when he's at Luke's Jedi Academy. We kind of see that background. But the reason it's important for Reylos is because when the moment of Ben's fall, all of the important people to him are on the panel, including his mom. And you can see that Palpatine was kind of behind the scenes, diabolically behind his fall. But the other person that you see is a young Rey, and she feels something in the Force when he falls. So that's the dyad connection coming in much earlier than people thought it would. We guessed it, but
The assumption that Snoke was responsible for bridging their minds is not the
True.
case. If it happened before
Mhm.
anyone knew they both existed.
Right, exactly,
Right.
exactly. Because
So-
it was a little baby Rey on Jakku
Yeah.
who feels Ben Solo's fall.
Yeah.
The next thing is in High Republic. I think it was Into the Dark by Claudia Gray. They talk about the Amexine space station, which is where Ben Solo goes after his fall. It's where Snoke kind of hides out. So that's the connection, which none of us were expecting, the High Republic to reference that. But really cool. Good job, story group, for linking it all together.
Tying those things together.
Yes. And then this is not canon, but Lego put out 2 specials, the Holiday Special and Terrifying Tales. So Holiday Special was around Christmas time, after the Rise of, maybe the year after the Rise of Skywalker. My dates are probably wrong.
It was the year after.
Yes, at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And then the Halloween after that, they did Terrifying Tales. And then this year, we'll talk about the summer special that they released. But the reason I wanted to talk about Lego is that even though they aren't canon, a lot of the stories are really cute and still relate to kind of the stuff that we're talking about. It's almost like they're taking Reylo talking points and turning them into Lego specials.
Well, when Rey sees Kylo in the holiday special because of the going back into the past, and she's like, Ben? Like, and it's like, oh no. Ouch.
She almost uses the World Between Worlds, like the Lego version of the World Between Worlds. There's portals where Rey can go into the past in the holiday special, and in one, like you said, in one of those portals, she sees Ben. And then in the Halloween special, Terrifying Tales, there's a whole short about the Lost Boy, which is Ben Solo, and it was him kind of rebelling at Luke's academy and how he kind of decided to pick the name Kylo. So it's just really cute stuff. And then finally, the Skywalker Saga, which covers original trilogy, prequel trilogy, and sequel trilogy through Lego format. It's a video game. Also has a ton of cute Reylo moments where they're holding hands and it's just very adorable.
Wandering around the Starkiller base.
Yes.
And having like these interesting tete-a-tetes and conversations. Yeah,
it's really cute. And then finally, the last thing that we talked about during the first episode of Revisiting Reylo was there was a Life Day comic, Star Wars Life Day comic, which featured Han Solo, and he was just on one of his usual, like smuggler missions. But there's a moment where he's missing his family, and it's almost like a fortune-telling ball. He looks into it, and he is thinking about his family and missing them because it's Life Day, and he's not with. And so there's like a cute little picture of the Solo family. So that's pretty much it. So that's a lot of content that we covered last time, and I just wanted to go through it because I know there's tons of new Reylos who might not realize how much content has been out after the Rise of Skywalker.
We did forget about one thing though last time.
Yes. I can't believe it that we forgot last time.
Like, we referred to this earlier when we talked about Rey and the dress and the blue butterflies. So we might as well talk about it now, just so it's in the history books, it's in the Revisiting Reylo archives. Ben Solo and the Bug Hunters, which is the rollout shorts that were on Star Wars YouTube. Are they still there? I think they're still there. Yeah. And this is where Han is going off on like an adventure with Chewie to go and get these, I don't know, it's like they're doing a smuggler's thing or
Right. It's a smuggler's mission. That's
deal.
all we need.
Yeah, like a deal. And Ben comes along and like stows away and then
On the Falcon. It's really cute.
interacts with a blue butterfly
hmm
and protects like the butterfly and then like steals a falcon and flies it like a chaos child.
Yes,
And
basically he saves the day. He saves Han, he
yeah.
saves Chewie, and he saves the butterflies. And butterflies just symbolically have a lot of meaning in our culture too. They rebirth
Mhm.
from a caterpillar.
They're
There's just so
they're
much you can dig into.
there is psychopomp, so they can travel between like this world and the next.
hmm
They carry souls in Greek mythology from to the afterlife. And also they represent rebirth because they go into a chrysalis and are reborn into a new form and transformation. And so Ben Solo has become a butterfly in
Yes.
the idea of being a Reylo. And that's why many Reylos will have a butterfly in their name or in their header, or you'll see butterflies on things. It
hmm
is quite literally this concept that we hope for transformation, rebirth, and return.
Right. Yes. So yes, if you have not checked out those shorts, it's a three-parter. It's great. And again, just to cover it, this is a baby Ben Solo. So
Mhm.
this was
He was a baby and he's so cute, but he's a
yeah.
Rolo, so he looks like BB-8.
Yes, all of the aesthetic of the cartoon is all of them are little BB-8s. And what's funny is like everyone else is an adult. There's cartoons with Finn, Ray, like I said, Han, Leia.
Mhm.
All of them are there, and their Chewie even is in their BB-8 form. But only Ben is a little smaller, and he's the little baby, the little baby BB-8.
Yep. And then there was also Baby Ben Swallow. Is that it was the Simpsons?
Yes.
I'm not caught up on the Simpsons.
No, so this was also something that happened last time that I didn't get to cover really quick is The Simpsons released a bunch of shorts on Disney Plus, and one of them was called The Force Awakens from its nap. I won't go into all the plot. You're welcome to to watch it in its entirety on Disney Plus. But there's a scene where Marge is at Maggie from daycare, probably Obi-Wan, who's like cutting up bread for a peanut butter sandwich. But basically, there's a bunch of little kids, and there's like an Ewok, a little Boba Fett, and then there's a baby Ben Solo. He's shirtless, so that makes him a Swolo. And then
He's got
he's
his
got
high
his
waist
little
pants and
yeah, he's got his
his
high waisted
helmet.
pants and his helmet on. Yes, it's super cute. So I just wanted to show that. And obviously that was licensed by The Simpsons with Lucasfilm, but still, we can go ahead and say that
It's under
people
the
like
same parent company now. So
yes,
is it licensing or is it synergy?
yes, exactly.
Business synergy. They're just
Well, and what's funny is if you take this as canon, well, we know this isn't canon because Han and Leia actually just left him with a droid for babysitting. They would never take him to a daycare. So, not to dunk on them one more time. But
look, there was a lot of problems.
yes, that led to his downfall. Okay, all right.
right,
So,
back- 2022.
finally, we've
Revisiting Reylo.
yes, we're finally back into the new content now. So go back, listen to that episode, and now we are going into the new stuff that's come out since then. Just to get us started, there have been lots and lots of reference books that have been released. I won't go through every single one of them, but plenty of Reylos who have screenshotted every time a new reference book comes out that gets released. They screenshot, find the Reylo content or Rey or Kylo content, either them individually or them together, and then they post it on Twitter. So I'll try not to go through all of it, but just know that like pretty much any reference book is kind of almost like they're not erasing the Rise of Skywalker. They aren't erasing the sequel trilogy. They are included in all of the content the same way the original trilogy characters are, the prequel trilogies, and they kind of are just reiterating the things that happened in the Rise of Skywalker. So I'll just give a quick example. There's like a little Jedi Pocket Expert where it kind of, if you just quickly wanted, instead of going on Wikipedia, if you wanted to quickly reference some key facts about your favorite characters, there's a whole page on Ben Solo. It talks about his journey. It talks about how family love saved him. On Rey's page, there's a bit about their bond. That how the bond, the force that links them together is what helped bring Ben Solo back to the light side.
Aw. Just what Rayla's been saying this whole time.
Exactly. So it, and everyone else kind of says, oh, it was so quick, Ben's redemption, and of course we wanted something much longer too. I'm fine with it now. Like I said, I'm above peace with the Rise of Skywalker. I think maybe all of us kind of wanted some kind of journey of atonement that we would be able to see, or, whatever. We all had our preconceived notions about how things would turn out. But the most important thing is, just like Anakin does one thing to save Luke, Ben Solo saves Rey, and that's all we need to know. And we know that he's on the light side and he is redeemed in the eyes of the Force. And so that is confirmed in canon through all of these reference books.
I mean, nobody brings it up that Darth Vader only turned back from the dark, like, right at the end of the movie.
Right, at the nick of time. No, and then, of course, we see him hanging out with the rest of the Force Ghosts, like he's just chilling with Yoda and Obi-Wan. So everyone forgave him. It's over. It's just a children's story. And I think the same benefit of the doubt needs to be given to Ben Solo.
And I think that Ahsoka has confirmed where Anakin is at.
Yes.
So, yeah.
We will get there too to talk about. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is buddy Charles Soule. Can I call him our buddy? I don't know. Mr. Soule.
Sure. I said hi to him at in the elevator at Celebration, and he was like, "Oh, hi, Marie Claire."
You gave me all those horribly hard questions. No.
Oh, yeah.
It was an awesome interview.
It was him and like Claudia Gray's significant other. So I don't know. It's weird, and I knew both of them. It was I was awkward. I don't know. I just didn't expect to see anybody that I knew from
right, of course.
Those sorts of and I'm like, oh hey. And then you have to like realize you're like as tall or taller than some people, and you're like, oh, this is awkward now, and I'm tall and you're not as tall as me, and now I feel weird and no.
Okay,
life was weird.
yes, definitely. But that's a happy coincidence that you actually got to see him at Celebration. Yes. So Charles Soule, there was an issue, and he writes for. He's continued to write a lot of Star Wars content, but of course we're just pulling all of the Rey and Kylo stuff. There was a new issue of Star Wars 25 last year, July 2022. And it includes 4 short stories, and one of them is called See Around Kid. So as soon as that name dropped, all of us were like, what? Ben Solo. And I think also Charles and the illustrator of that short, who also did the Rise of Kylo Ren comics, Will Sliney, both of them were kind of cryptically tweeting at the time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were kind of cryptically tweeting that there might be some Ben in the future. So one of the stories, See Around Kid, is set sometime after The Last Jedi, but before The Rise of Skywalker. And it's basically about Ben, and this is canon, that he's looking for Uncle Luke, which was kind of surprising. I have seen some criticism about it because it's like, well, did he not know that he was trying to kill him on Crate? Like, did he not think that did he not feel it in the Force that Luke died? So this kind of confirms that he didn't necessarily, or maybe he was kind of, still looking for him. But in my opinion, it's more of like a metaphorical, he can't escape the ghosts of his past kind of thing. We're not supposed to think like, oh, okay, he still thinks Luke's running around somewhere. He's just kind of like, well, he said see you around.
He's being haunted by what happened.
Yes. And so he maybe expects to see the ghost of Luke Skywalker somewhere. And that's my interpretation of it. So basically after the events on Crate, Luke is, vanished by saying, see you around, kid. And so Kylo and the Knights of Ren enter an outpost. They are basically just looking for Luke. And it kind of just ends with him saying, like, I think Hux is like asking him, oh, what are you doing? Like, why are you running around all this place? And he's like, oh, nothing. It's like not important. So he kind of just downplays like the ghosts that are haunting him.
Those are psychological demons, I'm telling you.
Yes. But the importance of a comic like this is, one, that more Ben Solo content is being created every day. And 2, that that kind of all is like laying the groundwork for his eventual redemption in The Rise of Skywalker. It's all just like more puzzle pieces getting
and like not making it as surprising.
Yes,
not that
surprising for like the wider audience, I guess.
I don't know.
But I will say that I think a lot of the wider audience is coming around to it. I think everyone likes the look of Ben Solo. They think he's cool. So I think a lot of people have kind of like turned the corner on Ben.
Yeah, I remember when the like lightsaber challenge happened like after The Rise of Skywalker, and like nobody's against that. Nobody's against Ben Solo being cool, redeemed.
Yes. Yes, it was everyone. It was kind of like a social media trend where everyone did the Ben Solo shrug, and they were posting it. It was right. My
husband pulled out an entire child out of his back.
I did it with a BB-8. That's awesome. That's hilarious. I did it with like a little BB-8 because, yeah,
it was fun. I remember that. Twitter was good back then. I don't know it. I miss that.
Yeah, and kind of related to that also, a lot of people after Dany died in Game of Thrones, a lot of people made donations in honor of Emilia Clarke, and so people
Mm,
kind of followed suit with that after the Rise of Skywalker ended. They made donations like kind of in memory of Ben Solo, but really to honor Adam
yeah.
Driver for his work, and then also to honor Daisy. And so everyone got together and made donations. So that's another cool thing that happened.
I love fandom when it's like cool like
Hmm.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was all just from the groundwork. It wasn't Lucasfilm. Like it was just the fans wanting to do something to show appreciation for the characters.
It's something that money can't buy. Dedicated fans.
Yes. Let me go on to the next thing. The next thing that I wanted to bring up was Galaxy of Heroes is a mobile game. I've actually never played it, but luckily we have tons of Reylos who are in every part of fandom. So they post stuff on Twitter. I'm like, okay, cool. This is the cliff notes of what I needed to know from this game. It's a game where I guess you kind of can unlock all of the characters in Star Wars across all of the trilogies and TV shows and
Mhm.
everything. And so in 2022, Ben Solo was announced as a character that you can unlock, and you basically it's a game that you just have to grind through. So you have to put
Mhm.
in the time and the effort, and that's the only way that you can unlock him, which of course is like par for the course with Ray
Yeah.
to get access to Ben Solo content.
We know a lot about waiting and
Yeah.
and working to see what we want. Yeah.
Yes. So anyways, so yes, a few Railers were able to unlock him, and that they were able to get. They kind of did for each character. They kind of explain the important powers, quote unquote, that they have. So he has some highlights that I just wanted to bring up. He's one main thing. It's Ben Solo and Exegol, so it is not Kylo Ren. It is there may be Kylo as a previous character, but this is Ben Solo in his little tunic and his hole in his shirt and and the blue lightsaber, and he is light side. He is listed as a light sider. The highlights for his powers are that he is it's You're Not Alone. When paired with Rey in the leader slot, Rey cannot be defeated while Ben Solo is alive.
Wow. That's cool.
Additionally, Ben Solo cannot be defeated while Rey is above 50% health. So as long as he's with her, he's on the right path, as Adam Driver
Aw.
would say. Yes. So, and then the next highlight for him as a character is I Feel It Again, the Pull It to the Light. Ben Solo benefits greatly from having all light side allies on his undefeated, and on his defeated, sorry, let me say that again, MC. Ben Solo benefits greatly from having all light side allies, giving him major speed boosts and extra attacks. And so if you look at his character profile at the bottom, people tend to pair him with Rey, of course, Finn, Poe. So basically, it's a redeemed Ben Solo back with the gang, hanging out and going on
That's
missions.
wild. It's like
Yes.
like fan fiction.
Mhm, mhm. And so then the final,
What could have been?
I
Hey?
know.
Hey? Yeah.
And finally, the final highlight for his character is two that are one. Ding ding ding! That's the Reylo bingo right there. Ben Solo lifts Rey to new heights, and in return, she is the key to making full use of his abilities.
Oh.
So, if you would like to check
Wow.
that game out and
Is a
spend
Reylo
hours
writing
grinding,
this? Somebody who
sorry,
got
say that again.
it. Is a Reylo writing this?
Yes, that's
Somebody
what I
who
was
got
thinking.
it.
If you would like to grind your way and own Ben Solo as a character, the game is Galaxy of Heroes, and it's on your phone, Android
Mhm.
and iPhone. Okay.
Wow, that was
Just
August 2022.
Yes, that was August
We're
2022.
not very far.
So the very next thing, which we had talked about earlier, is that Lego released 3 specials on Disney Plus. We talked about the 2 previous ones from the last time we had talked about Reylo. This time it is from August 2022. It is Lego Summer Vacation. And it's super cute. Everyone's in their little holiday gear. They've got like Hawaiian shirts on. It's really fun. I just want to give all props to the Lego team because they just knock these out of the park. They're super cute and adorable. So the plot for this is that Finn, that's something else I can say is that for each of the specials, one of the sequel trilogy characters was the center character. So for the holiday special, it was Rey, and she was going through the portals of time and kind of
Mhm.
seeing the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, and then finally the sequel trilogy characters. And then for Terrifying Tales, it was Poe at the center of the Lego special. And then finally, and we were all kind of guessing, we were like, well, if they did Poe and Rey, then they've got to do Finn. And to our joy, they did Finn. And so
Yay.
Finn, yay! So Finn's is the central character of this this special Summer Vacation, and he takes the gang, the sequel trilogy gang, to the Galactic Star Cruiser. Rest in peace. So this is before the, and if you don't know what that is, it's the insane hotel that was built
Insane.
at Disney World is now closed. But
Yeah.
before that, the sequel trilogy game, it was actually really cool because at the hotel, they had Rey and Kylo in person at the park, and they were battling. It was a really cool, from what I've seen online, it was a really cool show. And they kind of integrated not only sequel trilogy characters, but lots of other, characters
And it was
into the film.
interactive and like
Mhm.
there was like missions and things like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, that's awesome, but it was like really expensive and
Yes.
very hard to like, I think, convince people that it was worth the money to
Right. It was
experience.
pretty much like the most expensive cruise that you could go on. Like it was I would say on par with a Disney cruise, maybe higher than that.
It was
But
higher.
it was higher than even a Disney, which is the top one of the highest most expensive cruises other than like, the very like first class like cruises. It was more expensive than that, and you don't leave Orlando. So
Yeah. You're
like,
in a building under like no windows. Yeah.
yes, yeah. In the Lego special, Finn, this is after the Rise of Skywalker. He thinks that everyone could use a vacation, which is true after everything they've been through. The sequel trilogy gang, so it includes Finn, Rey, Poe, and of course Rose. So the four of them go to the Galactic Star Cruiser, and Finn is kind of sad that this is the last time that they're all going to be together, which kind of, I was like, what?
What?
Guys, is the gang breaking up? I know Lego's not canon, but he is kind of sad about that. But the rest of them are too excited to have a vacation. So the rest of them just kind of ignore him saying that. And he's like, I'm going through something, guys. Like, we're about to separate. I don't think him and Rey will, because in the holiday special, Rey is training him as a Jedi. So maybe him and Rey still continue doing their Force journey, but maybe Poe and Rose go on to help rebuild the Republic. That could be a potential future that's happening. But either way, so he's sad that this is the last time that they'll all be together. So Finn, of course, gets separated to go on his own journey, and he gets separated from the group, and he encounters 3 Force ghosts: Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Leia, who all tell him about summer vacations of the past. I know, it's really
awesome
cute.
to see Anakin in like a little scuba outfit.
Yes, it's so hilarious, and it kind of is funny too, because it's like the fandom version of Anakin. Like since it isn't canon, it's kind of like how we all kind of view him as like, yes, of course he becomes Darth Vader, but he's also just like Anakin, silly Anakin.
Yeah.
So the part of the 3 stories that I wanted to talk about was Leia's story, which is of course about Ben Solo, and it's about the very last summer before she and Han drop Ben off at Luke's Jedi Academy. It's a super cute short where, again, they go on a smuggler mission. It's always some kind of mission. So they go on some kind of mission, not as important for our discussion today. But basically, it's Ben's final summer before he is permanently at the Jedi Academy. So it really pulls on your heartstrings as a Reylo, because you finally get to see that. We see Solo family in their happiest moments. We see Leia and Han both hugging him goodbye. It's just very sweet, and you can tell that they love their son. It's just really heartbreaking, and like we want that kind of content. We love it, but it also is very, very sad knowing that Ben dies at the end of all of this.
Where it ends up, yeah.
Yes. So, but in that moment, you're able to kind of just like hopefully forget about it a little bit and just kind of enjoy the content of seeing like the Solo family, which is super cute. And what it ends at the very end, Finn does get some kind of comfort from all the 3 stories because of course it's about love and friendship, and he knows that like the sequel trilogy friends will be with him no matter what. And at the very end, he sees the 3 ghosts. He sees Leia, Anakin in his scuba gear, Obi-Wan in his Hawaiian shirt, but then he also sees a 4th ghost, and that is Ben Solo.
It's sort of like a Kylo Ren-ish outfit, hey? Like
Yes.
TLJ. It's interesting. Again, Lego not canon, but he's there.
Yeah, he's there, and he's got a scar, like you said. He's got his Kylo outfit. I kind of just think that that's his like most recognizable outfit, instead of like, I guess, him as Ben Solo. But he is there. It's kind of sad to see him as Ben, but then when he's got that cute Lego smile, you're kind of just like, okay, whatever. And at least like we got to see him, so there is kind of confirming that there's some truth in like seeing him again, and it kind of reassures people that we will see him again.
Okay.
Okay, maybe it reassures me. I don't know. I don't want to see him as a 4th ghost. So
I mean, yeah, like that to me is just very like, I don't know. I don't know what to feel about that.
Yeah, it is. The other thing that kind of comforts me about that is because I think this was a set trilogy. I think it was the holiday special, Terrifying Tales, and then Summer Vacation. I think
Mm.
they wanted to talk about the 3 sequel trilogy characters. I wish we had gotten a Rose one. I'm just going to still hold out hope that maybe in Easter we'll get a
Oh, that
spring
would
because that's the only season left. So a spring Rose
Spring
Lego
Rose.
special would be,
Aw.
yeah, it would be great. But if it was just those 3, this kind of seems like a nice way to tie a bow and say that okay, that those were the 3 Lego specials that we were commissioned to make, and then that's it. We'll move on to other Lego things.
Yeah.
And we're lucky to just get sequel trilogy content. After the Rise of Skywalker, we were worried we weren't going to get anything. So when I view it from that lens, I'm like, well, it's all positive. Whatever, it's fine. I should hope like we're vocal enough that they know what we want.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
I don't know. Am I loud enough on the internet? I don't know.
I guess with
I
all of everyone else being loud. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder about that. I do wonder if they know why it's a
Yes.
good story to tell.
Mhm. Yes, I think I agree with you there that maybe they kind of don't understand. They kind of just assume, oh, it's their favorite character. They want him back, just like everybody wants their favorite character back. But it would have deeper meaning not only for Ben, but and the Skywalker family as a whole, but also for Rey too.
Hmm.
And yeah, and besides, I think I'm sure I've said it on these podcasts many, many times, but every other character gets to come back. So why not Ben Solo? and we've got Palpatine, Boba Fett, and Darth Maul coming back in content after their supposed deaths. I think Ben
Hmm.
Solo doesn't need to be the only exception to that rule. And if you're saying, "Oh no, he made a sacrifice," it doesn't matter. Like that's just your bias about the characters. Not this isn't me getting harsh. No,
Well,
no.
no, it actually says it's a different thing. It sacrifice is more like the American monomyth, and
Mhm.
people feel like there is no coming back from that, or it reduces the meaning of it. I actually think that there's a way to do it where it's a journey for Rey, so it is a lost husband story,
Mhm.
and there is something that Ben is doing in sort of in the Force to
Yes.
come back whole,
Yes. Exactly.
and I feel like because time has passed, there is an amount of, well, he's kind of been in Force prison,
Yeah.
right?
Everyone who's
So
like, well, even if he did come back, he'd get thrown in jail. Yeah, okay.
especially
He's
if
in
you
jail right
show
now.
that he's actually kind of like tortured by his past by being in
Yes.
the forest,
Mhm.
and I'll get into this in the Ahsoka stuff. If he's going through sort of like a period of vision journey in the forest, experiencing things, which is sort of I wrote a fanfic about what I thought needed to happen. Um, then you have empathy for the fact that he has been suffering
Mhm.
and refined in it. And because Rey wants him back, she finds him and pulls him out of the underworld.
Yes. And their connection allows for that. We'll
Yeah.
definitely keep talking about this when we get to the Ahsoka and the diet sections.
Yes.
Okay, so moving along, I know it's like we're slogging through this because there's so much content. I don't. But okay, so one more book that was released was Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher. It was from June 2022. And so I wanted to talk about this because it was not only highly reviewed, everyone who's read it said they loved it. It kind of is supposed to again keep the Rise of Skywalker intact and add things to it that help digest the Rise of Skywalker, basically. This is set after Return of the Jedi. Ben is 16, Rey is 6, but our main characters are actually Luke and Lando. And they basically go on a journey hunting my least favorite character in all of Star Wars canon, sorry. Ochi of best. No.
Oh,
Some
gee.
people ride or die for him, and I'm like, oh my god, this is too much.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, but that's the thing about Star Wars is like sometimes
yeah,
people just like attach onto
right.
a character that is there for 3 seconds in a flashback,
I know,
and they
exactly.
become their entire personality. And
Yeah.
Star Wars is just like that. Like I just accept it cuz
Right, right.
it is what it is. There is a character or two that I am also absolutely obsessed with.
Mhm.
So that have like nothing, right? Like so
Yeah.
it's all good.
Um, yeah. Agreed. So basically Lando is looking for his daughter. who was kind of mentioned in The Rise of Skywalker. I know, it's a lot. So
I'm
he
making a
basically,
face. It's
I know.
just like, what were they trying to do?
I mean, they were trying to like reconcile everything that happens in The Rise of Skywalker, and most of the people who've read it kind of say, okay, yeah, this is at least it's giving some context to everything. Lando is looking for his daughter, and he comes across Ochi of Bastion, and he notices that Ochi's up to no good and looking for, I believe it's the Sith dagger. I'm not entirely sure. Basically, Ochi is looking not just for the Sith dagger, but also to Rey's family.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke and Lando never find out who Rey is, her relation to Palpatine, none of that, just that there's a family and there's a little girl that he's hunting. And the reason I wanted to bring this up in relation to Reylo, Rey and Kylo, of course, is that Ben is a teenager in Luke's academy and Rey is a little baby and on the run with her family.
Mm-hmm.
They've left the New Republic. Nobody believed them that these Sith acolytes and people on Exegol, there's a Sith group that's on,
Mm-hmm.
that's trying
Just
to
sort
like
of sound crazy.
Right. They basically, yeah. After
It's like,
years of peace, nobody in the New Republic believed
there was only two. We got them both, and
right.
you're saying there's hundreds, like
Yes, exactly.
thousands, like
yeah.
how? What do they?
So
eat?
basically, they get no assistance from the New Republic, and they're on. Rey and her parents are on the run. We find out Rey's dad's name is Dathan, and that he is a clone, not a biological son of Palpatine. He is a clone. And I don't think we find out Rey's mom's name here, but I think somewhere else in canon we find out it is Miramar.
Yeah.
But there are some very sweet moments with Rey and her parents. And I think some of it is told from Rey's point of view. So it's like very cute. And you just love Rey. So you love seeing her. As far as Luke and Ben, because Ben is at Luke's academy, Ben is kind of included at the beginning of the book and at the end of the book. And at the beginning of the book, we see him at the academy when Luke is like, okay, well, my buddy Lando's here. I gotta go. Gotta split. So Ben is charged with and Ben wants to go with, of course, his uncle. He like wants to go, and he's not allowed to go. So he is in charge of taking care of the little Padawans, which is super cute. A teenage, I think even Star Wars official called him a gangly teenager. So he's a gangly teenager taking care of the Padawans. What ends up happening is that Rey's parents are killed, and they end up being the ones to bury her parents. By that time, they've already left Rey on Jakku, but so they never actually run into Rey, but it's kind of like that near miss kind of thing. And when Luke goes back to the academy, Ben calls him Uncle Luke. I don't know, it's just kind of really sad to see their relationship. They're not uncle and nephew, like wants to call him Uncle Luke, but Luke kind of rejects him and calls him Padawan.
That attachment stuff, like
yeah.
It's like the downfall of every Darksider is like, let me love you. No, you can't love me.
Right. It's
what?
awful. Ugh, it's so heartbreaking. So Ben calls Luke Uncle Luke, and then Luke says Padawan, and then Ben says, sorry, Master Skywalker, not Uncle Luke. And it's very sad. But it just shows, and I think this kind of scene is kind of why a lot of people want some kind of show or Disney Plus series with Luke and Ben. I'm not really pulling for that all that much. If I had to make a choice, I want something in the future with Ben coming back. Just because I don't need that kind of like decay of their relationship. Like these moments are very like heart-wrenching and I appreciate them, but I don't need the whole journey.
If they brought him back, I would accept it. Like if they brought him back first, and then they were like, "Oh, we want to show like a cartoon,
like a cartoon with Luke's Jedi Academy kind of thing." That would be cute. But yes, after.
I just need the healing first if they're gonna torture me more.
Right. Exactly.
I need to heal up before they torture me more, please.
Yeah, and we should follow kind of like the pattern of the prequel trilogy where it concludes and then you go back to revisit. And so one final thing that's of importance. So again, this is Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher. In this book, that's really important is during all of this, the rumors about the Sith that Luke also kind of hears about and stuff, is he's been having ominous visions of Exegol. Luke has.
Oh, interesting.
I think at the beginning, Ben is the one who wakes him up from that vision of Exegol. And he kind of just sees it, I think, as like kind of like a place of death. But there is a passage in the book where it is confirmed that Exegol is not a place of death. It is in fact a place of rebirth. So
I have thoughts on what Exegol is based on this verbiage. I mean, it is a connection to the world between worlds then, because when you die in a heroic journey, you're at your lowest point, you're in the underworld, you die, but you are also reborn in the same instant.
Yes.
It's also a representation of like rebirth for Palpatine and what that
Mhm.
represented, but it could mean something more significant from a Force perspective and corrupted and misunderstood by the Sith.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. And we're going to really dig into
Yeah.
that when we get to the dyad section. The Sith are there's a lot in canon about what the Sith think the dyad is. And about using the dyad for rebirth, the way that Palpatine wants to use it. And so if it does exist as a prophecy in the Sith, then it also is part of the light side. We've seen it, the dyad, as part of the light side. So we'll get into, yes, we'll definitely cover all that. But
or it could just be like the Force and it
Mhm.
exists. And so
Yes.
it's just
It-
something that exists.
I mean, what you
Yeah.
and I have long said is that the dyad is just an extension of the Force. Like them seeing each other is almost their version of the world between worlds. Like it's all one thing. It's so Ben and Rey talking to each other is through the Force. That is also part of the world between worlds. Like it's just a different name. The place
Yeah.
between places. All yeah.
Oh, I
it's all
call
of
it
that.
like elsewhere because it's
Mhm,
less
yes.
confusing than using something that is specific
Mhm.
to Rebels when
Right.
and now Ahsoka and like the Dave Filoni verse.
Right.
It because there are other vergences in the Force where you walk into the Force that have
Mhm.
existed before that didn't have a name, like the
Mhm.
world between worlds.
Yes. The example would be Mortis is an example.
The Dagobah tree.
Yes.
There's tons in like written
Ray's
canon.
vision, pretty much all the visions. They're kind of
Mhm.
Ben also has visions in some of the comics as well. So when Reylos are speculating and saying, "Oh, Ben could come back through the world between worlds," they don't literally mean the entrance on Lothal where Ezra was. What we mean
Yeah.
is elsewhere, like that the Force has so many vergences, which is confirmed in the Rise of Skywalker Urban Dictionary. The Jedi texts have this map that's called the Chain Worlds Theorem, world between
Mhm.
worlds,
And
vergence scatter.
Exegol is one of them.
Yes,
Mhm.
Exegol and Octo are both vergences in the Force. So potentially, like Lothal, they would be places where you could enter the Force.
Yep.
And we do see that in the Rise of Skywalker. We'll get to it when Rey connects with all of the Jedi.
Yep.
Yep. Sorry, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, MC, but I'm telling
No, I just agree. Like
Yeah.
like they've been actually fairly consistent with this
Yes.
concept, and so
Mhm.
like it isn't like anything has surprised me. When I did an episode
Right.
on Elsewhere, which is what I
Mhm.
refer to as like what ends up happening with the Force, what we just talked about, I said nothing about this is surprising because if you listen to the language of people talking about Mortis and you listen to the language of how they talk about the world between worlds, it's the exact same language. So even if it's not called the world between worlds,
Mhm.
going into the Force looks like this.
Yes, exactly. And so the reason we're spending so much time kind of laying it out is because I think right now, and since the Rise of Skywalker, Reylos have gotten a lot of like heat and criticism. Pretty much, it feels like once a month that we have to discuss the world between worlds, and everyone is like, "You can't come back that way. Didn't you guys watch Rebels?" And we're like, "Yes, we have all seen Rebels. We know how it works. we are just using WBW as shorthand for the dyad, for everything, anything that can come through the Force." Okay, so anyways, yes. So this book, sorry, I'm getting frustrated now too. MC, I'm
You're like, we've had our PhD at Reylo University, and
Yes.
you've not put in the work
Right.
that Reylos have put in.
But we are kind of trying to make what we're doing is basically laying the groundwork and laying the connection of, okay, if Palpatine can come back at this place with the power of the dyad, then potentially Ben Solo could also come back
With the
through
power of the
a similar-
dyad.
Yes, exactly. So again, Shadow of the Sith confirms that Exegol is not just a place of death, but is also a place of rebirth. And it says to Exegol, to the place of rebirth, both for him and for me. There's nothing for you on Exegol. He promised me the geometries of power can show the path, the parts connected to the whole, and together they can seek them out and be one.
That's so interesting. There's been a lot of sacred geometry in the second or in the sequel trilogy external comics, like the whole thing, like Poe's journey that he had, which was what led into The Force Awakens. There's been a lot of that stuff. I'll think about it more. It's cool.
Yeah. It's just all stuff to chew on, that kind of just crumbs that we're putting together that can all lay the groundwork for the return of Reylo.
For the return.
And of course, that language together, they can seek them out and be
for
one.
the return of the Prince of Alderaan. I think that was confirmed.
Yes.
Wasn't
Yes,
that confirmed somewhere?
I think was it Charles Schulz? I think he calls him the Prince of
The
Alderaan.
Prince of Alderaan, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so that language about coming together, becoming one, of course, is reflected in the Rise of Skywalker with the dyad to become one. Yeah. Okay, and then we've got a couple more tidbits, and then I will let you go, MC. No, I'm kidding. I'll let everyone go.
No. We have stuff to discuss.
The next thing is there, like I had mentioned, there's a lot of reference books that have been out. Another one is called Star Wars 100 Objects, illuminating items from a galaxy far, far away. Of course, again, what happens is that Reylos get hold of these texts, just like you said, we get our PhD, and we just kind of find the passages that deal with Rey, Ben Solo, or Reylo. So in this, we find out that the calligraphy set that is in the hut at Luke's Jedi Academy, Ben Solo's hut, when Luke goes in to try and kill him, on his little shelf is a calligraphy set. And that calligraphy set originally belonged to the original Ben, Obi-Wan. And he used to he used to use it to journal in, which is super cute. So I think the reason I bring this one up too, because of course, all of us have made sure Ben is named after Obi-Wan.
That sort of was like revealed with the Kenobi show.
Yes, exactly. So I think this was kind of around the same time as the Kenobi show. So this is another piece of that where the wider Star Wars fandom is like, yes, he was named after Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
In case that was not any more clear.
Tying interconnections and like weaving the tapestry and drawing Ben closer to the core of the story.
Right, exactly. And to us, in our mind, I mean, of course you do that with Star Wars always does that with all of the characters. No character left behind. You're going to find out something about them that connects them to something else. But to us, it's very heartening that Ben Solo is not forgotten, that his death doesn't mean we don't get content for him or relation to other characters, including some of the most important characters in the story. And this year in 2023, we've got the Hyperspace Story comics, these are targeted towards kids, but they're cute little stories, each one. There's number 4, which is about Rey, and number 8, which is about Kylo. They're both very, not Kylo's. Kylo's stories are never cute, but Rey's story is cute. Kylo's story is just heart-wrenching. But both of them have stories. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is because there is a little Wookiee doll that kind of travels through all of the stories. Each story is about a different character in Star Wars, and that Wookiee doll gets passed around from the original Wookiee owner to Anakin to Boba Fett, and at one point, Ben also encounters the doll. That he encounters it is that this is during, I would assume, before The Last Jedi. So we're not sure if it's before The Force Awakens, but basically he's under Snoke is his master basically during this time. And Snoke is sending Ben to try and he feels something in the Force and he's like, maybe that's Rey or whatever, but we don't know yet. Snoke feels something in the Force and he says, go find whatever that is. And so Ben goes out hunting and he comes to a planet where he senses the Force on the doll that a little girl is holding and she's scared. And what he ends up doing is he, of course, spares the little girl. He's not going to kill the little girl. And again, that's just another crumb of hope for Ben Solo. When he goes back to Snoke, he kind of pretty much lies and says he didn't find anything. It could have just been the planet that had the Force. But what it really is that doll. It kind of seems like the Force, since Anakin touched it, all of that, that the Force is kind of with the doll, or that the little girl is Force sensitive. I guess it's up for interpretation.
Yeah.
But he does not rat out the little girl or her family or all of the people on that planet. I know. And then finally, at the end of the hyperspace stories, this is number 4, but it's told not chronologically. But eventually the doll makes its way to Rey and it looks super cute when she's holding it. And of course, because she is a sweet baby angel, she returns it back to the Wookiees.
Oh.
I know. It's just another cute dyad connection.
You guys, like, they're so much cuter when they're together in the same scenes together.
I know. It really is like it's almost like all of this content is as if it's like if it had been released before The Rise of Skywalker. If we had gotten all of this, it would have been like the longest slow burn of anything. Yeah. But what makes it more painful is that you get all of this content connecting them after he has died.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to yes.
Or it's setting the groundwork for him
right.
to return. We don't know. Like, I mean, it's hard to tell what they're thinking. We have hope. It would do a lot. I'm not going to lie. It would do a lot for the Star Wars story.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. And then finally, just to close this section about hyperspace stories, one of the, I think it's the main cover, the alternate cover, for the comic is Ben and a monster, kind of. But on the cover, what it says is, which is the true monster? Because, Rey calls Ben a monster. But that little cute part of, well, is he the monster or is it the other giant monster that's trying to attack him?
So that's like all of the stuff that has been released or talked about. All right. So where do we go from here, Hammy?
Okay. Yeah. So you were probably tired of hearing my voice, but all of this, yes, but all of this to say is the reason MC kind of wanted all of this in one place is kind of not only to give all of you hope, but to give us hope. It's, even myself, I follow all of this content. I'm spending way too much time on Twitter, and so, but seeing it all laid out like this. Every couple of months we're getting new things about the sequel trilogy, about Rey, about Ben, and even about Exegol, what could happen with the World Between Worlds. All of this stuff is, like MC said, laying the groundwork for what could potentially happen in the future. So we had talked about Rey's movie.
Is it like a giant murder board with strings attached to it to say, look at all of this coming together to show you what the potential is?
Yes.
Why tell this story? Why tell more of this story if it's just done?
Right.
Not that Star Wars has been against that, trust me.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel done if they're continuously showing redemptive qualities to Ben Solo.
Yes. If it was over, one, they could just not include any of his character, or show him, murdering a bunch of kids.
More kid murder.
Yeah, exactly.
It worked for Anakin. Look at all the content he gets.
I know. That's the problem. It's because Ben is just not a good villain. He's just too good of a boy. If he was out here slaughtering people,
he's too baby.
If he was slaughtering more people, a wider fandom would accept him, and we would get tons of content for him. Okay, so all of that to
really
say,
terrible villain.
Yes, he is. And we like it that way. Trust us. That's how we want it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so all of that to say is the next thing I wanted to talk about was pretty much the dyad. What Reylos have been talking about with the dyad, what that could mean for the future of the story for Reylo, for Rey and Kylo together as individuals. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was kind of like the current theory. And I just wanted to summarize this again because a lot of people outside the Reylo community kind of question us. It feels like on a monthly basis about, why do you think Ben Solo is coming back? He sacrificed himself. There's no way he's coming back. Blah, 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 over and over and over again. And we are kind of saying, okay, yes, he sacrificed himself for Rey. That was amazing. But there's enough crumbs here that they could potentially bring him back. They're not against bringing other people back. And so this is one of the many ways that they could do it. The current theory that most Reylos subscribe to is that the dyad can serve as a story device to bring back Ben Solo and reunite him with Rey. And there's multiple ways that could happen. Or all of these could combine into one huge way to bring Ben Solo back. So Exegol being a place of rebirth, which we talked about. The World Between Worlds itself, again, not the place on Exegol. World Between Worlds theorem, which is about divergences everywhere. Exegol. Mm-hmm. I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist when I'm talking about this, but the reason to talk about this is
our Reylo murder board. It's it's too big. Yeah.
But the reason to talk about World Between Worlds is because one example is in the Tross novel, in the Rise of Skywalker novel, when Rey is connecting to all of the Jedi, she looks up. The battle disappears. There's all those battleships, the Sith battleships, and all of those disappear, and all she sees are sky. Basically, it's just
the stars. Yeah.
Yes, the stars, which means she's looking into a place and then connecting with the Force and hearing the voices of all of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. The other way that Ben could come back is, of course, cloning, as we're quoting The Rise of Skywalker, cloning or secrets only the Sith knew, basically. Any version of these, Exegol, the World Between Worlds, cloning, secrets only the Sith knew, all of that could combine in any version, or you could have any kind of brand new thing that somebody could come up with about the dyad. So there's 5 different ways that I just mentioned that Ben Solo could come back, and any combination of those 5.
I think we have yet to see, in my opinion, the story Chekhov's gun that the dyad is the most powerful thing in the galaxy. Mm-hmm. In the Force. It wasn't proven correct in The Rise of Skywalker. So we have yet to actually see that, which is exciting, that we could see something like that it is ultra powerful. Mm-hmm.
For all of the criticism that The Rise of Skywalker has, the Force aspects of it do kind of make me think, I don't really, I don't like all of the Jedi, that I just don't like that reduction of everything. But the way Palpatine comes back, the way he uses the bond, the way Ben and Rey heal each other,
Yeah.
where Rey heals Ben first, and then Ben heals Rey. All of that is new Force material that we were given through the Rise of Skywalker. And so all of these examples that we're listing are possibilities, but I personally, and I'm sure MC2 would love to see something new, something totally unique to Ben and Rey that no one else would be able to do. And it would be about
And
their emotional connection.
I think
All of
we've
that.
gotten like hints of it with things like Vader Immortal and the healing of Mustafar that happened,
Mhm.
like the return of the Aeon
Yes.
engine. Reylos have always wanted there to be a literal representation of the elixir being returned to the galaxy. So, as extreme as it sounds,
Mhm.
Ben coming back and connecting with Rey returns the planets that have been destroyed in the war. So, like
Yes.
Alderaan and the Hosnian system.
Mhm.
Like, quite literally back from the dead. That's the level that we're talking about.
Right.
Like, we're not talking about like something like, imagine that for a second.
Yes, we're not talking on the level of, oh, two romantic characters we want to get together to get back together. This is about healing the galaxy overall and saying something bigger about the Force and the people and humanity in the process.
And it might mean that like we don't get them returning to, hey, we're talking about politics and on a they have to leave. Literally
Mhm.
they might have to leave the galaxy or be hidden away or secluded away in their own like Force kingdom or
Right.
something. But it's very possible that that's the solution to this, which is that they are beyond.
Mhm. And
Mhm.
some of our theories before the right, like all of this could have happened in the last 10 minutes of the Rise of Skywalker.
Mhm.
Many of us kind of anticipate. There's so many tweets from Reylos saying, "Oh, Ben's going to sacrifice himself for Rey." 100%.
Mhm.
These were tweets that were being put out early 2019 before we had any rumors on Reddit. We were saying he will sacrifice himself. Rey will heal him. There's going to be healing and all of those that kind of language. That would lead to redemption and healing of the wider galaxy. And all of that could have been done in the last 10 minutes. It could have been the Beauty and the Beast ending, where he
Yeah.
wakes up from being sacrificing himself. That's kind of the fairy tale ending we were expecting. And the rest of the galaxy would hopefully have seen that happening. Right now, nobody knows that Ben sacrificed himself for Rey.
Yeah.
And so we kind of imagined a much, like MC had said, a much bigger ending that would kind of inspire the galaxy away
Yep.
from war. But then that would also take the courage of saying, well, does war never happen again after them? You know, it opens up so many possibilities afterwards, after this big event with the dyad.
Yeah, yeah. And it would be
Mhm.
actually the way to put a bow on the galaxy, but the galaxy doesn't end. So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I just think there is a way to sort of reset the galaxy through the dyad. It is the most powerful story element they have going
Mhm.
for them to like create something magical out of it. And I'm always reminded of the fourth precept, which is the sort of Star Wars Visions comic short that they had that came out just after the prequels, which has a dyad like duo that are fighting across the galaxy and they sort of represent the Force in general. I think that that's all in there. I think it's all like in the mythology, in the
Mhm.
conceptual, like there's always a light and dark that are always fighting, and the the secret to solving it is them joining together
Mhm.
and sort of in union, which is like sort of
Yes.
this alchemical union idea. There's a lot that had come. We talk about last time like what the dyad meant?
Yes. So
Okay.
we did talk about in terms of Joseph Campbell that he viewed it as a marriage between two individuals, but also on a more mythic sense, gods joined
The
together in
the
marriage.
duad, yeah, because it had a
Mhm.
different spelling in his texts. So he referred to it as in relation to himself as like when two people become married, they become a dyad and they sacrifice pieces of themselves to become the relationship, right?
Yes.
And to maintain the relationship. And then there's the duad, which is like the idea that moving beyond duality as two forces do.
Mhm.
And this all comes down to like archetypical understanding of alchemical union, where you have conjuncto, which it is the idea that like how you transform something comes from alchemical union of opposites.
Mhm.
And that's why it's super powerful, this idea. How you create something new comes from this experience of binding together these opposites. We have a hard time conceptualizing alchemical union and like how it plays out in our unconscious. And so oftentimes it's symbolically represented with a union of opposites, but it is how you create something new out of nothing, right? So oftentimes it'll be like a king and a queen, or hey, a powerful light, powerful dark, or something bigger than the sum of its parts with a union of opposites representative in a symbolic way, allows us to create a new element. So when this is all from alchemical psychology. Jung talks about it a lot. Marie-Louise von Franz talks about it a lot. In story, oftentimes it ends up heralding a new time, transformational magical things happen. It's how we incorporate the elixir into ourselves, the lessons of beyond duality, so that we can bring it and heal the galaxy. This is all like based in archetypical psychology and like how these processes play out in dreams and the language of the night, which is storytelling. So it's all there.
Yes.
We're not crazy.
I should say, right. Yeah, and I should say, you mentioned Jung. Rian Johnson has said that he looked at Jung when looking at when creating The Last Jedi. These are all things that Lucasfilm themselves pull from. Joseph Campbell, all of that.
Yeah, Joseph Campbell has his own interpretations of Jung and spoke with George about this stuff. Like it's all there. Like they have at Skywalker Sound or Skywalker Ranch, they have the largest mythological library of like many places. They're aware.
Yes. Yes. And I did want to talk about that a little bit because we've gotten so little information on the dyad. It's almost reiterating what we kind of already know about the dyad in canon with just a couple of tweaks here and there. So it can be anything. Chris Terrio is the only one who kind of mentions the dyad in the episode 9 documentary. And it's just to say that, the mythic dyad that's brought up by Joseph Campbell. But that kind of tells me that, like you said, someone at Lucasfilm is looking at the term dyad and putting it into the canon, whether that's Terrio or the story group or someone, and they're referencing these texts that mention the duality, the alchemical union, all of that. It has deeper meaning, and they have access to that information. Just because it's not part of canon already doesn't mean that they aren't looking at all of those deeper definitions.
And I would say that they're more likely to lean on Joseph Campbell than any other source with regards to what it meant. And essentially Rey and Kylo are Force gods.
Yes.
Is what we can interpret based on the Joseph Campbellian interpretation of it.
Yes. And so we may have talked about this last time, but one of the examples also mentioned in text by Joseph Campbell are, because I'm Hindu, Shakti Shiva. So it's about Shakti Shiva, a single unified being, male, female, and what it says is this is the mysticism of the dyad, male, female as one.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the beyond duality thing that Reylos are always talking about, and so we need both of them to do this thing. And again, back to the fourth precept, which is this comic, which you can just like Google the images of. There's no text in it. It's literally just images of a light and a dark figure fighting across the galaxy in time. And they end up being like combined in a geometrical formation,
which we talked about earlier.
Like so like it's all there. It's just like somebody has to like choose to tell it. I mean, it's not like we're not picking up the breadcrumbs. Like we're here. We're on the same I
will say in a I personally don't think this will be in the Rey movie. Like this whole dyad coming together, there may be a mention. That's just me personally cynical a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of saying like the most we're going to get is like a mention to Ben Solo. But I think it's important to recognize in canon, the dyad is separate from space and time. That's one of the few definitions that we get in canon. So that's something to think about. So just because he's not mentioned or included in 15 years later with Rey doesn't mean that she's not thinking about him or all that. I just want to give a little bit of positivity to like, this story can be told again later. Just because to me, it does feel like they're quickly putting out this Rey movie really fast.
Like, I don't know. I still thought like reincarnation was the easiest way to handle this. Or to bring the dyad back is a different form or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it means. I can't read their minds.
Right.
You know.
But I will say if it is them coming back, another layer to that story about two becoming one is also as individuals. I don't like Rey being a Palpatine, but she may still have some inner dark as well that she needs to contend with. And so it's both of them kind of, it's not just Ben going on this journey wherever he is in the Force limbo. It's also about Rey. And so both of them could be going through this journey together while she is rescuing him. There's just so many possibilities for reflecting also internally and externally to the wider galaxy for both of them.
So like lost husband stories are about finding your missing masculine self. Right? For a femme character, it's about finding your animus in your subconscious. It's metaphor. Right? And so Rey's other half is canonically, mythically, symbolically Ben. It always has been. Literally, that is what the story is saying. So we're saying that her husband, i.e. her animus, is lost in the underworld. Female characters in story, in mythology, have a higher ratio of going to the underworld and finding their husbands or finding their lost husbands in story, folklore, etc., than men have in finding their lost brides. So I have hope.
Yes.
And from like a meta story perspective about what it says about our society, our masculine is lost in society. They don't really know what they're doing with themselves. And so to say we're reaching out our hand and to have it grabbed back to say, I have hope for myself. And also I want to come back to live in society and make society a better place is such an important story.
Yes. And I think that's what is kind of lost a lot of times when, wider fandom looks at Reylos and theorizing, because they kind of see it as, oh, well, you just want the romance, you just want this, but it means something deeper to all of us.
I'm like literally clenching my face. Like, okay, archetypes. Okay, I recently saw Hadestown.
Okay, here we go.
If you have not seen Hadestown, it's kind of two parallel stories being told at the same time. It's obviously about Orpheus and Eurydice and like their tragedy and what is happening, but it's also about healing the archetypes of Persephone and Hades. And Rey and Kylo are archetypical AF. Like they are Hades and Persephone. He bridal carried her away from the land of the living in a forest down to the underworld, but actually fell in love with her. It is Hades and Persephone. It is Cupid and Psyche, in that I've always thought that it is Cupid and Psyche as well, which is a very similar story in different ways, because there's also like a taking of the maiden into the other world and things like that. But it is because eventually there is this story of needing to find the lost masculine. And am I surprised that this happened? No. I'm surprised that they didn't have a plan to fix it and finish the story.
Yes.
Because it's archetypical, and we need to heal the archetypes in our stories and the collective unconscious to heal ourselves too. Story is so important for healing.
Yes.
And if you don't believe me, go listen to or read Theater of War by Brian Dories. Narrated by Adam Driver.
Exactly. Okay. All right.
Sorry,
so one last thing I wanted to kind of bring up, and it does connect to what MC is talking about. There have been a few, like I said, references in canon to the dyad. One is the dyad is connected across space and time. And the one that I thought was really important, which I don't think I remember us talking about last time, is the Sith dyad, what was prophesized. The dyad was originally prophesized as a Sith prophecy, and that's what Palpatine was kind of going off of. That dyad was supposed to usher in a new era, just like MC said. A new era in the galaxy, the joining of these two individuals on the dark side. So what we've seen is these two individuals joining together on the light side, and ideally that would usher in a new era of peace in the galaxy.
Yeah. I've always loved Alex J. Kane's theory that he actually was at the bottom of the pit and force projected himself to Rey to heal her.
Yes.
And then he kind of like slipped into the force because Exegol is like so connected to the force, and so he's like they're all broken like in the force. I literally love it so much because it just sort of opens up all these possibilities for story, and it makes it I love the term resonate because it vibrates in your brain and it makes you feel complete when you can think of the story in a particular way like that, and it will speak for itself.
Okay, a couple more things really quick, and then I promise I'm almost done. No, we still have to talk about the world between worlds. You're not going to get off that easy, listeners. Okay, so one more reference in canon is that this is from Star Wars Skywalker, A Family at War. Basically, it covers all of the Skywalker characters, including Ben Solo, and it says that a dyad is stronger than any other bond or even blood. So, again, reiterating how strong this is. Like MC said, it is the most powerful thing in the galaxy, the dyad is. And it kind of just makes me feel like Reylo is just so special. Like, they are the ones who have this. And I'm selfishly, I don't want another dyad to be introduced, like in the past or in the future. I kind of just want to know their story first before we dive into other dyads.
Yeah. I don't know. It needs to be fixed somehow. So... I agree with your selfishness. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay. And most recently this year, there was also by Kristen Baver, there was a book called Star Wars Timelines, where this is very, very important if you've taken anything away from this. And you see this on screen. And a lot of this, again, is stuff that is just kind of reiterating what we kind of already suspected as a Reylo fandom, but for some reason, other folks just aren't into it as much, and so they're not putting it together. But basically, it says word for word that the power of the dyad in the Force remade Palpatine's organic body.
Huh.
So,
weird.
If they can remake, so it's not that remake his organic body kind of implies that they could remake another organic body. That the person that they're remaking is not going to be a Force ghost.
And you would hope that, like, if they could understand it and work with it, it could be like a pure form of rejuvenation.
Yes, again, not what happened to Palpatine on the dark side, but
not just rejuvenating Ben back from wherever he is, but because that was something that happened, it rejuvenated more. That's like so key to understanding Campbell, is like you by finding the thing that is lost in the underworld. And this is a theme, in Star Wars. I don't want to go into this right now, but it is everywhere. You find something lost in the darkness. You find it in the underworld. You find it in the elsewhere. You bring it back, and it multiplies, and it makes things create and become better. And that is Joseph Campbellian. It is George Lucas. It is Star Wars. They just haven't been able to fully get there with all of the story inside of this generation, except for one story, maybe a couple of more. And they're usually in video games. Vader Immortal and Jedi Survivor. Jedi Survivor. Like, listen to that episode if you're looking for some like hope in Star Wars that I did with Ty Black, because Ty came back to Star Wars for Jedi Survivor. Like, that's what we're talking about. So I have hope because the story is there, like the understanding of this concept. And it's good. It's good. It feels good.
Yes. Okay, to finish it off, I know I've been saying I'm finishing it off, but I'm not finishing up. So we've got the organic body. It also says here in the text, revitalize. He casts aside Rey. He, being Palpatine, casts aside Rey and Ben. Now he's got that organic body. He attacks the resistant fleet with his renewed power. So again, reiterating, on the dark side, he's got all this new power. We want to see it on the light side, like MC said. Them coming back together, Ben Solo coming back, will have renewed and revitalized power on the light. And then one final thing is that in the same book, Ben's sacrifice is, word for word, an act of love.
Oh,
Not not friendship, not bros, not besties, an act of love.
act of love. He loves her.
Yes.
Oh, they're so cute together. Isn't Reylo great?
Yes.
As sad as it is in its current state, it's still inspiring. And I have a lot of feelings about that when we get to sort of talking about how it's inspired others. But let me quickly talk about Ahsoka, because I know you're not as familiar with like my thoughts on Ahsoka. I was writing recaps on my Patreon during the Raider strike, so I wasn't sharing things publicly, but just kind of writing out my thoughts and like the mythic significance of things that happened. And by far, the World Between Worlds episodes, which is Shadow Warrior, was the best of the episodes, I would say, and the most well put together. Ahsoka ends up falling off a cliff, quote unquote dying, probably, maybe not dying, maybe falling directly into the World Between Worlds, not unlike somebody else who fell off a cliff.
Yes.
That is why Reylos were freaking out on the internet. If you were asking, why are Reylos freaking out on the internet about this episode?
Why was the World Between Worlds trending on Twitter?
Why was the World Between Worlds trending on Twitter? Because it was literally the World Between Worlds, but it went deeper than that, in that they didn't stay there. They went back into the past and relived pieces of Ahsoka's trauma during the Clone Wars, and about sort of the different things that she has had to, she didn't accept about the Clone Wars and about the darkness that exists in everybody and the decisions that had to be made during the Clone Wars, and about kind of the darkness within the Jedi too. It was all done in very broad, symbolic strokes. I'm to this day, Dave refuses to explain himself, so I explain to him for him.
And one more important thing is who she sees.
She sees Anakin there. Anakin realizes that it wasn't about just having a pleasant little chat in the underworld. He also confirms that she's not allowed to stay unless she really wants to.
Yep.
So she could have just died.
She could have.
And she didn't.
But she didn't, yes.
Yeah, she went back. And Jason Syndulla sort of reaches out, hears her in the Force, and sort of reaches out with the Force and gets people to collect her when she comes out. That's why. That's why Reylos were freaking out. Because why was that significant from an archetypical perspective? Well, Ahsoka went into the Force, experienced a trial, participated in an alchemical union situation, found her missing masculine, which was Anakin. There's a great moment where he literally she looks at him and she looks like she's got Sith eyes in the moment, and it's when they're fighting. That's really cool. So she's combined with the darkness within herself. She's taking on all of those shadows. She's eaten them. And then she comes out changed, transformed even, into a lighter version of her. She changes her clothes from gray to white. She has finally changed and transformed archetypes even, from sort of this grumpy hermit crone to a mage. I talked about this show for like 20,000 words on Patreon. So I don't really need to go into it so much, but I think my episode elsewhere, although it was before The Rise of Skywalker, still stands today on why the World Between Worlds is important and what it means. Essentially, anything that allows you to go into the Force, you are in the Force, and the Force is you.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything can happen up to the writer's imagination.
Hear, hear. Yay. One last final tidbit. Thank you, MC, for summarizing Ahsoka for all of us who have not watched it. No, I'm kidding. I watched it on Twitter. Don't worry. Through Reylo memes and reactions, as was intended by Dave Filoni. No, but one last final tidbit from Ahsoka. Baylan has a little wristband, and there's some writing on there, and when translated, says the names of important characters. The person who posted this, I'm sorry if I don't remember your Twitter name, but thank you everyone who helped source all of this on Twitter for me. She found it, and each of the names I'll read out to you now are Luke, Leia, Han, R2-D2, C-3PO, Chewie, and Ben. And so their theory was that Baylan, it could be their hit list, that they are aware that a baby Ben Solo exists out in the world during Ahsoka's time, and they want him dead.
It could also be his invite list to his birthday party.
Yes,
I mean,
totally. Yes,
using
100%.
Chewie is so specific. I thought his full title was the Mighty Chewbacca.
Yeah, so I thought, only his besties are allowed to call him Chewie. So you're right. It could be a birthday party invite. You're right. But it's just
so funny if that was it. Like, it's like, and this guy Baylan, like, Luke and Leia are cool with him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's even funnier now that you mention it, R2-D2 and 3PO are on there too. Yeah. So like, what has he got for the droids? Like,
I feel like that was just like a costumer who was like, this deep cut, but like it's not. Probably. It's like funny and like right. When you're imagining, like, he just really wanted them to come to his birthday party. That was what's his funny whole deal this whole time.
Yeah, no, that's hilarious. But I mean, they didn't have to include Ben, you know?
Yeah,
but they did.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. Yep. He's significant.
Okay. All right. So hopefully everyone has inhaled all of this knowledge of the last year and a half of Ben Solo and Rey content that has been turned out by Lucasfilm.
All right. So what now? Well, we should probably celebrate the fact that the Ben and Rey archetype is making all the money in the world of publishing.
Yes. If you in this section of the podcast, me and MC wanted to kind of give some recommendations because, again, we may have quite a wait before we see the return of Rey and, of course, Ben Solo. So here are some things that you can enjoy while we're waiting to keep your hope up, to keep your spirits up. So if you are not aware, and I think we talked about this briefly at the time, no books. I don't think any of the books had been released, but nope. a lot of Reylos are very active. We're active in fan fiction, fan art, all of that. And some of these authors have quit their real-time jobs and become fully fledged New York Times bestsellers by either taking fan fiction that they've written with Rey and Kylo and converting them into new romances and stories, or with their own original characters getting publishing deals. So the most famous of them is The Love Hypothesis, which by Ali Hazelwood, which went viral everywhere on the internet. And Ali's got, I think, 2 other books out and some novellas. And then this year, Thea Guanzon released the first in the Hurricane Wars, also a New York Times bestseller. Amazing. And both of these were fanfiction that were Reylo fanfiction that was turned into original novels. The Hurricane Wars is set, Thea is Filipino, and so it has a Southeast Asian influence, and that's really cool, and it's amazing.
Yep. And they were both part of, from a certain point of view, the Return of the Jedi book, which their stories are fun.
Yes. That's also kind of like another little bit of hope. I haven't gotten any insider information. At some point, maybe because they're both so busy, I might bother Thea and ask her how that deal happened, how they found out about her, because she hadn't published the Hurricane Wars yet. And Star Wars Lucasfilm had both of them write stories in canon. Which is just awesome. And congratulations to both of them.
Yeah, congratulations. Like, I mean, may you be the first of many.
Yes. There's a ton of other Reylo books. If you just Google Goodreads and then books by Reylo Publishing.
That's a curated list too. Yeah.
Slimo made one list, and so that one list is all fan fiction that has been converted into published works, and then also just authors who are Reylo. Some people never wrote fan fiction; they're just authors who are positive about Reylo, and so we compiled them all into a list as well. So
We
I'll
like to
just
support Reylos.
yes, and I do. I don't know. I kind of want to give a shout out to everybody in the fandom because this community has kind of like helped make this happen.
Mhm.
You know, Thea even said this is for the rats on her
Yep.
dedication
That was
in
great.
her book. Both of their covers are by Reylo artists.
I like the deep cuts in every single one of the novels too. Like there's always like something and you're like, "Oh, they went to
Yes.
the Waffle House, I see."
You're right. Exactly. There's deep cuts on Reylo lore. Anyway, so there's a couple more books I just wanted to shout out. Authors that I know through Twitter. My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine.
Gino!
You Again.
I love you, Gino.
Yeah, Gino on Twitter.
I consumed this one like in a day.
Mhm.
It was
It's
great.
so good.
And
It's so cute.
I think she's working on a part 2.
Oh, well, cool. Yeah,
think.
I must have missed that, but yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, I thought I saw an Instagram story, so if that's true, congrats, Gino. You deserve the world.
Yes. Another one is You Again by Katie Goldbeck. It is a play on When Harry Met Sally. So if you love When
I
Harry Met
haven't
Sally,
actually read that one yet or picked it up. I
yes.
should.
And the cover is so funny because you can tell it's like, Ring. It's Adam and Daisy. But it's so funny because congratulations to Katie as well, because so I've seen so many people out in the real world just reading that book because they love When Harry Met Sally, and then they don't know until later on that Katie is of course a Reylo, and then they're like, oh wait, of course the guy with the tall guy with the black hair and the brunette and the shorter brunette. Another book, one of my favorite authors in Reylo fan fiction is Julie Soto. She has Forget Me Not. There's another fanfic that I absolutely love called The Food of Love. And I really hope, and because of the success of Forget Me Not, I hope that she will one day publish that also.
Amazing. We should briefly mention that Collider was brave enough to have their editors, probably Maggie, talk to the person interviewing Daisy and said, so Reylo Publishing, did you know that dynamic produced New York Times bestsellers? And she was like, I hadn't heard that. Do you have the list?
Yeah, it's awesome. And I believe she also gave a shout out to Ali and Thea and said, oh, and congratulated them on using the Ray and Ben story to become successful authors.
I mean, she's happy about it, which it was a good day when we read that. It was like all the memes were like vindication and and like,
and it just means a lot too that Daisy would be like supportive of fans, and I don't know. It just was really nice. Yeah.
Since we recorded last, a really amazing show called Willow came out, and there's a lot of reasons to watch Willow. The queer content, the sad, angry frown prince, like the characters themselves. I love my questies so much. It is unfortunately been removed from Disney Plus, so you can't find it legally anywhere right now. We're advocating to get it back, but the Willow TV show is absolutely something that you need to watch. Not the least of which is something we always hoped for: the character of Jason Solo, which was the Legends version of Ben Solo, who fell to the dark side and was eventually killed by his sister in Legends. This is like a whole thing, right?
Yes.
There's an archetypical character inside of the Willow television show that is Jason Solo, and thus Ben Solo, and is redeemed, saved, and brought back. And it's super satisfying. There's lost husband stuff in it. There's mythic stuff. If you haven't watched the show, find it someplace. Shrug, shrug. And then listen to my following Willow episodes that I did with Missy. They're amazing, epic, and have had nothing but fond feedback from the creators at Lucasfilm for the work that we put in to analyze the show. And it needs more love out there and more questies. So absolutely engage with that. And you will find it, I would say, a very exciting fandom. I love it.
Yes. The reason we're bringing all of this up is to kind of like wait around and spend our time and just find joy in other things while we're waiting for the return of Ray and Ben Solo. I just wanted to make a couple of quick recommendations too, if you're bored and wanting to look for something to watch. I'm sure many Reylos have already watched Your Name, by the director Makoto Shinkai. I recommend that, and his other two movies, Weathering with You and Suzume. They're all three. Oh my gosh, Suzume, and I'd never expected Your Name to be beat, but Suzume might be my favorite out of the three movies.
Suzume.
Yes, exactly.
It's
all
so
three
good.
are. Yes, all three of his stories are about kind of star-crossed lovers. There is a romance, but it's, as MC alluded to, it's on like a bigger level. There's a lot of like Japanese imagery and history that's involved about I don't know. I don't want to spoil everything because it's worth like digging into. Yeah, just watch it. Just
going blind. You will be amazed.
Yes, I won't give it away. But the romance connects to something bigger, and it just means so much. And you will get your happy ending in all three of them. So again, that's Makoto Shinkai movies: Your Name, Weathering with You, and Suzume. One last mention that I'll do is there's also an indie movie called In Your Eyes from 2014. Both Your Name and In Your Eyes I had seen before ever watching Star Wars. I just watched them because I like romances and happily ever afters and stuff on mythic level. So In Your Eyes is an indie movie about a guy and a girl who are connected from birth. And without realizing it, they see glimpses of each other's lives. So when she gets hurt, he kind of feels it too. And they don't realize it until they're adults that they can talk to each other across the
that's
country.
Good.
It's so Reylo. So and because it was an indie movie, I kind of was like, has Rian Johnson seen this? Was he watching this in 2014 while writing The Last Jedi? Because they use the exact same trick that they do in The Last Jedi, where it's just camera angles showing that they're talking to each other in different locations. And again, happy ending. No reason to worry. There is a conflict. You wonder if they're going to end up together, but of course, happy ending. They run away together, and it's great. So that's it for me for recommendations.
Well, this has been an epic level of revisiting Reylo.
Yes.
Part 2. We'll see how long it takes for us to compile a long enough list to revisit Reylo a third time.
Maybe we definitely need to do it annually instead of because the list is long.
Yeah, I'm good with annually because this was almost too long, but you know the writer's strike kind of delayed us a little bit, right?
Yes,
and the actor's strike. So yeah, I'm good with annually. Or maybe even making it a Christmas thing.
Oh like yeah, that would be nice to get into the holiday season. Think about the anniversary of Trust.
Recover from the anniversary of Trust.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have to say, like, I don't see the embarrassment about what Kylo and Ben were, or Rey and Kylo being together. I don't see that embarrassment coming off of Lucasfilm like I used to.
No. Oh, yes. I guess one final thing that you just like, brilliant, MC. We've been getting so many tweets, Facebook posts, Instagram, everything about Ben and Rey. Lots of official posts from the accounts. It was almost like 3 years of silence where like they just never unless it was official content coming out.
Tweet was like, what's your favorite Star Wars ship? And Reylo doesn't count. Was like kind of like the last like major tweet, except for the run up to the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, and official content, like they would promote the comics and the rollout cartoons, obviously. But yes, so they've been just doing normal social media posts about like, oh hey, watch the sequel trilogy on Disney Plus. Find out how Ben finished what his grandfather couldn't start. Finish what his grandfather started. Those kinds of posts. They've just been nonstop from all of the official counts across the world.
Funny. That was like our one of the mythical conclusions of our panel was like he actually finished what Anakin couldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
He saved his loved one with the Force. Huh.
Yeah. But yes, the positivity continues because I'm sure everyone on Twitter has been seeing that the official Star Wars accounts have been posting a lot of Kylo and Ben. There was it almost felt like there was some fear to post him, and then now everyone seems to be pretty positive in the comments of all of those posts. So let's keep that going.
It certainly feels like the ice is breaking on that.
Yes.
And that to me is a positive thing. If generally they're finding positive engagement from it, they will post more. So pay attention. We will be paying attention. Hammy starts a new document as soon as we end this one.
It's already created. I've got Reylo, revisiting Reylo number 3 already in the tank.
Excellent. So we will play if for some reason we do need to talk before a year, we will. But if not, expect us next year.
Next Christmas.
Next Christmas, your annual Christmas gift.
Yes.
Revisiting Reylo. And in the meantime, enjoy what you love. If this is if this archetypical trope concept, you love it, seek it out on media, talk about it loudly, read those authors that bring you joy, and be loud about the things that bring you joy, because joy is so rare nowadays, it feels. And all we can do is bring it out to others so that we can experience a little bit of happiness.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Well, Hammy, where can people find you if they're looking for you online?
I am on Twitter 24/7 at Balanced Padawan. Thank you, MC, for having me. I love spending my holiday season with you, talking about Reylo. It's an honor to always podcast with you, so I appreciate it.
Oh, I love you, Hammy, and I'm happy you always say yes.
Yes, I will never say no.
So with that, until the next time we revisit Reylo, cheers.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music by Christy Carew for What the Force. You can support the show directly on Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We'd like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force. John, In Wild Space, How Rude, Anna Perez, Neil, Christian Luca, Carly Ann, Scott C., and Susan. Support the show by wearing the Force with our merch. Like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps others find the show. Connect with us on Twitter at WT4 Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook. Our website is whattheforce.ca, or the Discord link is in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.